Let's go!
You would have heard from me a bit earlier if this was a different character. I'm gonna be completely honest. And I've noticed a funny thing. And I've noticed that even Guilty Gear players talked about this on Twitter. So Guilty Gear got a new trailer today. The Summer of Gaming yada 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 horseshit revealed a new Guilty Gear character. Sick. It's a character that we knew was popular because of what we just read in the polls. Especially popular in Japan. This was a popular polled Japanese character from previous Guilty Gears from the beta test surveys that were sent out. And I was kind of shocked to see her in there, and it's Ramlethal. Everywhere else in the world, Baiken and Johnny are like the #1 requested characters to be in Guilty Gear. But I don't even, okay, I'm gonna say it right now. This is an Xrd character, right? And based on who this Xrd character is, I'm gonna make an immediate snap judgment of what Ramlethal's counter character is going to be. And I'm pretty sure you have a good idea of who it's gonna be. Ramlethal always had a counter. Dizzy, not Dizzy. It's Elephant. It's Elfet. I almost guarantee you it's Elfet. I'm gonna go with Efflet. That girl in her playstyle. Jesus, such an oppressive game plan. Let's check out the Ramlethal trailer and just see how it looks, because in all honesty, just seeing more Guilty Gear Strive is always a joy to behold. Ooh, new logo. They're using the third dimension. So I definitely wouldn't know from that it was Ram. Definitely wouldn't have known. What the hell is her theme? Her hat is so poofy. She's got a 4-leaf clover. I wonder what her game plan is gonna be like. She is a weird character in Xrd. Oh my. Okay. I think we're at least gonna get 2 Xrd characters. Actually instrumental? Huh. Oh, it sounded like there was a vocal track in the background. It sounded like there was one. Next character trailer coming in August. So what are we at now? 10? We are indeed at 10. Are all the World Warriors here? Let me think. Who's the last Guilty Gear World Warrior? Trying to think of the first Guilty Gear. Is Angie? I don't know if I don't think Angie was in the first one. I think that was Cliff, right? Cliff and Baiken. Cliff was playable in some form. Slayer is not a World Warrior. No, Slayer is from Guilty Gear XX and beyond. Damn, did you guys all forget the first Guilty Gear existed? Holy shit. Everyone's saying characters from Guilty Gear XX and beyond. The hell are you talking about? Yeah, Baiken's not technically playable in the first Guilty Gear. She's not technically a World Warrior, right? Just the same way that Sagat, Vega, and Bison aren't the World Warriors. Right, hold on a second. I need to look this up. Y'all are taking the poison. Y'all took the poison, chat. Nobody has any memory anymore, including myself. Yeah, it was Cliff. I think everybody's here. And I mean, obviously, some characters have much different designs in the original game. Dr. fucking Baldhead, who is the same character, right, as Faust? Testament? No, Testament is not a World Warrior. He was not in the original Guilty Gear 10. I guess it's Cliff, right? Yeah, Cliff is the one. At this point, Ramlethal has replaced Cliff. Do I think that Cliff is coming back for Guilty Gear? I don't. I mean, he's dead, but do you think a character being dead means anything for a fighting game roster? Do you think characters being dead has any juxtaposition of a game having characters or not? The history, the wide history of fighting games leads that answer to fuck no. But do I think he's coming back because he's dead? No. Do I think he's coming back? No, I don't think so. I don't think Cliff was ever a popular character. But I think putting other characters from other Guilty Gears is smarter, right? I think that's smarter. Because Cliff is the character I always forgot was in Guilty Gear 1 anyway, and didn't really miss until he came back in some weird form. I can't even remember which Guilty Gear he came back in. Like, he was playable again in some weird way in one of the Guilty Gear XX updates, I think. But we pretty much have the full roster, and now they're going into the Guilty Gear Xrd gamut. Like, I'm actually kind of shocked. I'm kind of shocked Ramlethal is the first Xrd character that's coming back. And when we also have the new guy, because right now there's no new characters on here. Like, we still have not seen the new dude, which is crazy. It's been almost a year that we have not seen the dual blade wield samurai guy, Techno Samurai Man, and his playstyle could be sick. I just, where this is going right now, and the supposed release date and the rate at which they're revealing characters, I can't remember if I said this before, but I think we're looking at a 14 to 16 character roster. Most likely it's gonna be 16 characters. And yeah, that wouldn't be surprising if dual-bladed samurai guy is going to be the last character. Do I think Biken's gonna make it? Everyone's asking me this shit. I think the other characters we have a guarantee that are gonna take up those other 6 slots. Samurai Guy is going to be one of them. Elfelt is going to be another one. Effluent. And I do think Biken's going to make it, right? I think Biken is too popular a character. I think Biken and Johnny are too popular of characters to not make it in many ways. Biken had #1 everywhere in the world, and Johnny was popular everywhere, but Johnny was not at the top. Biken as DLC make that money. I agree with you. They did that in the previous game, and it worked. I can say from a content creator, from someone that had to make videos and watch my audience's reaction about this hyper anime game when I didn't play a lot of anime games because Guilty Gear was coming back in 2013, 2014. The initial interest in Guilty Gear Xrd, at least on my channel, was only okay. People were getting somewhat engaged and then they lost interest really fast. But that sort of changed when the later versions came out with like Revelator, and then Biken showed up. And I think Biken just has an appeal, right? Yeah, she's hot and she's cool looking and all this stuff. She's the epitome of like, I've played Biken throughout the games that she's been primarily playable through because she was a boss in the first game. And I'm gonna agree with motherfuckers, because this is what I was saying, this is what I wanted to get to earlier. A lot of people that like Guilty Gear don't usually like a large variety of characters in Guilty Gear. And that's because Guilty Gear characters are so unique. Every one of these characters is like they're playing their own game. They are in their own game, doing their own thing, right? Playing their own version of Guilty Gear against you. And that's what's been so interesting about Guilty Gear for so many years, is that that design legacy still technically continues, right? Like even with Guilty Gear Strive, the characters are very unique and they do a lot of different shit. We're still lacking Gatling and all that stuff. But a lot of the time, if a character shows up like right, for example, if Sagat showed up in Street Fighter V, did I have any interest in being a really big Sagat player? No. But was I happy that Sagat was coming back to Street Fighter V? Yeah. There's something about the comfort of a character returning to the roster. And when it comes to Guilty Gear, there's only a few characters that I feel sort of fit that ideology. All the characters in Guilty Gear are so weird and crazy, outside of like, you know, the World Warriors, which are all here, minus one. Even the Guilty Gear fans are like, oh, Ramlethal, God. Like, some people are like, really? Ramlethal? Even though she's a super popular character in Japan. Like, she was on top of those charts. When it comes to characters like Guilty Gear, you get people that are like hardcore to one character, and they pretty much play that one character for the history of the fucking series for the most part. I'm just glad that Guilty Gear Xrd introduced a brand new character to Guilty Gear that I love playing just based off his playstyle, and that's Leo. I'm sorry Leo isn't there. Leo didn't sell me because he looked cool. I mean, he looks okay, right? He looks okay. I think he's got an interesting character design. But when it came to Leo in terms of gameplay, that's where I was like, yo, this character's fun as shit. This whole like Rekka, reverse Rekka, forward Rekka, back Rekka, like all this kind of stuff. I'm like, this is fun to do. Like, I actually really enjoy this. The fact that you could convert things, you get big counter hit damage and all this stuff. I was like, damn, this is fun. Do I think Leo's gonna come back? I don't think he's coming back. I don't think Leo and Raven, both of those characters I thought were really goddamn fun. I don't think they're coming back, and they were unique Xrd characters. If they did show Leo next, I want to see him redesigned. Right? I think Ramlethal looks great. I actually think Ramlethal looks better than she did in Xrd, but I think Leo's a character that could very much benefit from a new visual redesign. You notice how things aren't as bombastic, like the hair and, right, a lot of the visual aspects of characters aren't as big as they used to be. Even Milia, her hair isn't as like, doesn't seem to be as giant and nuts. And I think that with Leo, he has a lot of like huge aspects to his character, like visually huge aspects. So big hats, yeah. Now we got big hats. Big hat number 1, technically a huge hat. Big hat number 2, and big hat number 3. Good call. You got me on that one. Now we got some big ass hats. I think there's some characters that can definitely use for a redesign. I think Leo would be great later down the line, like Strivelator, Striveserdalator, right? When we get down the line. Do I think Ramlethal looks great? Of course. This is like the visually the best looking fighting game I think there is. In terms of aesthetic, in terms of execution, Guilty Gear Strive is like the best looking shit on the planet. But am I gonna be playing Ramlethal right jazz about her? No. I think that felt, I kind of feel that when I started reading the impressions of people all over the place that the Ram players are pretty happy, but we'll see. We'll see how it goes. I think there's still some chances for some fan characters. I think Slayer's a character, regardless if you play Slayer, everyone loves him, you know? I think there's quite a few more. Angie Mito, right, is another good example of a character that if Angie Mito came back, it'd be interesting because he wasn't in Xrd, but would the world erupt because Angie's back? I don't know. I don't know. I think Testament coming back would be cool because Testament was always cool. Testament was always a very, very cool character that came out of XX. Some people would love it. Some people would love it. But that's the thing. That's the engagement of Guilty Gear character roster, is that you really have these people that are like all in on one side of the roster, and then they just could give rats shit about some other characters. Like Bedman. Suddenly CNN reporting Bedman returns to Guilty Gear. Bedman on front page of IGN. Bedman is back. Daisuke comes out rolling on a bed and he waves. And then they pull him away. Bedman is back. And the Evo crowd is silent. It's completely silent. Bedwoman, that's how you do it. Bedwoman. You spice it up. Get ready, Bedwoman. I think Bedwoman would get a much bigger reaction. Good call, chat. Good call on Bedwoman.